morning everybody, my name is Crystal and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you like my videos, please smash that like button, please do subscribe. It's Friday morning, nearly the weekend. I hope everybody has a wonderful Friday. The weather has been very much the same most of this week. It is windy. It was windy last night. It was blowing things around my balcony. So it's overcast. There's no sun at the moment. There's a breeze and it's cooler. Alexa, good morning.
Good morning. On this day in 1969, tennis star Steffi Graf was born in Mannheim, Germany. She went on to become one of the most decorated tennis players in history with 22 major singles titles.
They're mentioning Steffi Graf and that because Wimbledon will be soon. Alexa, when is Wimbledon?
Good morning, Crystal. Wimbledon 2024 will take place between Monday the 1st and Sunday the 14th of July. Play starts daily at 11 a.m. British Summer Time.
Alexa, what's the time, please?
The time is 8:12 a.m.
Alexa, what's the date today?
Today is Friday the 14th of June.
At least it's not Friday the 13th. Alexa, what is the weather outlook?
In Rochester, it's 14 degrees Celsius with mostly sunny skies. Today, you can expect clouds with a chance of showers, with a high of 18 degrees and a low of 10 degrees.
Alexa, can you tell me a joke?
How do footballers stay cool during a game? They stand near the fans.
Alexa, whose birthday is it today?
Today's famous birthdays include Donald Trump, German tennis player Steffi Graf, German politician, Federal Minister of Finance and Vice-Chancellor Olaf Scholz, Shari Wag, and English musician Boy George.
So, happy birthday to Boy George. I grew up in the 80s and I remember listening to Culture Club and Boy George. How old is Boy George? Alexa, how old is Boy George?
Boy George is 63 years old.
Oh my God, we're all getting older. Alexa, how old is Donald Trump?
Donald Trump is 78. He was born on the 14th of June 1946 in New York City, New York.
He's older than King Charles III, Donald Trump. My goodness. So it's Friday. I haven't got much planned for today. The weather is cooler and I'm grateful for that. I don't like it when it's excessively hot and it's actually cool in this flat as well. It's still saying it's 21 degrees. But there is a breeze coming through the window. So yes, last night I came home and I'm stuck on this game, Royal Kingdom. It's a puzzle game and it's addictive. Usually what puts me off in games is the adverts, and then you stop playing it because you're fed up of the adverts, you see. So this Royal Kingdom game has no adverts and it's brilliant. It's you can pick it up where you left off. And it's brilliant. I mean, I spend a lot of my time by myself, I do. So it suits me fine. I went for a walk last night. It was I got by myself on the field again, and it was spitting with rain. And Max and I walked around the field, and just came home. I prefer it when life is normal. I don't like all these hectic, altercations and crap that goes on. It does seem to start when I talk to my mother. Why? I don't know, but it does. I haven't got a clue why. really, I'm just waiting for my glasses. I can't wait to pick up my glasses so that I can actually see people properly. Well, I can see people properly close up, but at distance. So I need reading glasses so that I can read books close. And I need glasses so that I can see. So it is important. So when I lost them, it was important, to, that I got a new pair, you see. So there you go. Also, a couple of days ago, I ordered my prescription, my Boots prescription. I ordered that. So I paid £5 to get my prescription delivered. What I would have done is if my glasses had been ready, because Boots Opticians said they're going to ring me because I need my glasses pretty urgently. They said they were going to ring me when they were ready. So it's been a week now, nearly. So my glasses aren't ready yet. You could pay for us, if you've got money, you can pay for your glasses to be done in a couple of days' time. It's all about having money, isn't it? In this life. So we're waiting for my prescription, we're waiting for my glasses. I've got some toilet rolls coming, that's very interesting. Toilet rolls. And just lately I've been getting some bags under my eyes. I don't like them, bags, probably because don't sleep very well. So I'm going to try some patches under the eyes to get rid of the puffiness and the bags under the eyes. I don't know if that's going to work, but the thing is, it's not that I don't sleep well, it's that I've got pets, and anyone with pets and children know that they have stomach problems, they get up during the night, they run around, and especially the new cat that I got last year, Harry, he just won't sit still. So I'm forever cleaning up after my pets and chasing after them. Max just lies down in a ball and he's quiet. Unless he hears a fox. Last night there was a fox and he was going mental. There was a fox and they make noises like screaming babies, don't they? So there was one coming down the road and it wasn't that late at night, it was about 8 or 9, and Max was trying to get out the window to get it. And on the first floor window, he can't, can he? So we get a lot of foxes around here. Where I used to live before, we used to get packs of them, foxes going into the trees and the bushes. They're looking for discarded food. Old chips, old takeaways, bits of rubbish. That's what the foxes are looking for. So when you sometimes see a bag of rubbish, shredded to bits, it's foxes. They've got sharp teeth, haven't they? They rip things open. They can be quite dangerous, foxes. They're not pets. They're not something that you pet and keep as a pet and pet it. Because they're their teeth are sharp. I went onto YouTube. See, these pets like that aren't meant to be kept as pets. So this guy befriended a chimpanzee, a chimp, and chimps have got teeth, haven't they? They've got sharp teeth. Chimpanzees, not a little monkey, a chimpanzee. So he befriended this chimpanzee. and it was lovely to him, lovely for ages, you know. And then you know what I mean? Killed its own owner, killed the man that fed it and petted it, killed him. There's reasons why these animals are not pets. Tigers, chimpanzees, foxes, they're not pets. They're wild and they can be dangerous. So this chimpanzee bit his face off and his genitals. Bit his face completely off and his genitals. And that's no word of a lie, it's on YouTube. Chimpanzee. Got to be careful. This is why we have rules. This is why we have rules and regulations. You might get away with something for so long and then sometimes you get the book thrown at you. Alexa, LBC Radio.
LBC London from Global Player.
And one last one about furlough, suing Cambridge. People who got furlough now should pay it back with the same interest rate as student loans. The taxpayer paid them, they now need it back. Just take directly from wages like a student loan, and for self-employment, add a tax if they apply for furlough. There's a lot of anger still out there about furlough. Okay, let's come more generally to the whole idea of this manifesto and whether or not it hit the spot. Michael in Maida Vale, how do you respond to what you've heard or read? Good morning.
A couple of points which nobody's mentioned at all, which we've mentioned very badly, and one of them is the tax on dividends.
Right, these are shared evidence.
Yeah, there's been a deafening silence on that. Secondly, I wonder whether where Keir Starmer's children go to school, whether at public school or private school.
They're at state school.
They're at state school.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last one I would point out is that Neil Kinnock was in much the same situation many years ago, and he finished up with a rather more red face than Labour.
Sorry, you're talking about the lead in the polls, do you mean?
Yes.
Certainly I was out of the country, but they weren't. Were they that far ahead? Was the Conservatives that far back all those years ago?
I don't know about how far back they were, but I know that Labour were confidently talking.
They were. That wasn't that was this famous rally in Sheffield, wasn't it, or something, as I recall. Yeah. Again, I wasn't here, yeah. No, I do remember that, Michael. Hubris, of course. If your children are asking, what does hubris mean? I would point them to that speech by Neil Kinnock. I don't think you will see a hubristic moment. I think it would exist, that word, hubristic. I don't see where else you could go with it. I don't think you'll see a hubristic moment such as that from Sir Keir Starmer. I think they probably learnt their lessons down the generations from what Neil, now Lord Kinnock, did. Michael, thank you for that. Aware as I am, not all of you want to hear politics all day long. We turn to other stories, although this does have a political edge in as much in the fact that the Prime Minister promised that they would go the other way. But sadly, the overall NHS waiting list in England has risen, that new figures show, for the first time in 7 months. Couple of figures to blitz you with now very quickly. An estimated 7.57 million treatments are waiting to be carried out at the end of April. That refers to 6.33 million patients. So there's up respectively from 7.5 million and 6.29 million. Let's get more detail on that and remind you that the topic of NHS waiting lists came up in that ITV leadership debate between the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition last week, with Mr Sunak trying to insist that waiting lists are coming down.
You are now making progress, the waiting lists are coming down. But what Keir Starmer didn't mention to you, which you did, Julie...
Well, you get 7.2 million, they're now 7.5 million. It says they're coming down. This is the guy says he's good at maths.
Yeah, they are now coming down. They are now coming down.
7.2 when you said you get them down. 7.2 million, they're now 7.5 million. And I'd like you to explain how they're coming down.
Because they were coming down from where they were when they were higher.
7.2.
And they're now on their way down. They are down.
Let's turn to Danielle Jeffries, who's senior analyst at the health think tank The King's Fund. Very widely respected think tank too. Thank you for coming on, Danielle, if I may call you that. If we put the political sparring to one side, as an expert in the field, what actually needs to happen now to address this? Good morning.
Morning. So yeah, the waiting list is a huge problem for the government. So nearly almost 1 in 10 people on the waiting list, and it's going to be a huge task ahead. So what really needs to happen is to focus on getting down the waiting list and some transformation type change. So things like more staff, more funding into the system will help get the waiting list down. But even then, it's going to be a huge problem over not just for the next couple of years, next decade. So a really long-term plan to get the waiting list down is what's needed.
If you put this to the Prime Minister or senior members of the government, almost to a man or woman, they point to the industrial action that has been taking place or is ongoing. How fair is that in your view, Danielle?
So there is some impact on the industrial action. So you got millions of just over 1 million appointments were cancelled during those periods of industrial action. So it did have an impact. But it's important to put that in context. So even before industrial action, there was huge waiting lists. Even before the pandemic, there were 4.5 million people on this more 4.5 million waits on the waiting list. So this isn't just a COVID problem, this isn't just industrial action. This is a long-term issue that's been building up over time.
If you'll allow that no government has spent as much on the health service as the current government and more money is promised, is money the answer? Or is it how that money is spent? Sorry, or is it how that money is spent, Daniel?
Yeah, exactly, a bit of both. So yes, there's more money in the NHS than there ever was. But if you look at the growth year on year, we're seeing sort of 3% growth year on year in recent years, whereas when we look back to the early noughties, when there was huge change in the number of waiting lists were really high in the early noughties and managed to get them down. Then there was sort of 6-7% growth in funding year on year. So it's a very different picture we're in at the moment. So if we had more funding in, it would be definitely helpful. And then also it's about how you spend that money. So we need to spend it on staff, we need to spend it in a productive way, because we also know that productivity in the NHS is also lower.
All right. Lastly, I think they call it thinking outside the box, noting that the NHS is one of the biggest employers on the planet. Is there an argument and I don't know how, but we somehow split it up. We have hospitals and we have surgeons, we have whatever else. Is it just too big to actually function?
So almost the opposite, I would say we need more integration between the different services. So what some of the issue is that we see hospitals and GPs working differently in different places. What we need is more coordination between the two. So if we have more capacity in prime care, for example, we might be able to prevent some of the cases of people needing to go to elective operations. We might be able to prevent people going to A&E. So more coordination between the two would actually be helpful rather than splitting them up.
Thanks for your time this morning. Danielle Jeffries is Senior Analyst at the health think tank, the King's Fund. Emails coming in on this. Michael in Helsham, it's not the government's fault people are getting ill and going onto waiting lists. It's the time they're waiting that is the important figure. Yeah, I hear you, but of course if you promise to get something down and you're the Prime Minister, I do think that comes back to you, doesn't it? Chris says we hear a lot about the NHS waiting list. What defines being on the waiting list? Well, I'll go on. If I phone my surgery and I'm given an appointment date, does that count? No, it doesn't. If so, it's probably always been in the millions, or is it waiting for a procedure? I'm sorry, I need to explain that. It is obviously waiting for a procedure. It's, to have a hip op or whatever it might be, or other treatment. Actually, it doesn't actually be surgery, in fact. But no, just the fact that you can't see your doctor until next Thursday would not count. Let's get one more call in before we give you a full news update. Anne is in Haywards Heath. We're coming to the NHS story now. Where do you think, what needs to be done to solve this? Is the NHS simply too big, notwithstanding what we heard from that expert? Good morning.
I do think it's too big. We've had lots of mergers of hospitals and highly paid chief execs. A lot of money has gone in, and you mentioned it, Nick.
Yeah.
Where it goes. Don't forget the huge pensions, because with all the mergers, the salaries are bigger. My concern is that many staff, appointments, whatever, work from home. When you talk about waiting lists, very quickly, we used to see general consultants who would look at maybe 2 or 3 parts that you may have wrong.
Yeah.
Now you have different consultants who look at different bits.
Yeah.
So that means far more appointments. And of course the population has grown. What we are not doing is we've closed all the convalescent homes and step-down beds that older people could be moved out of hospital into that care. They closed them. We're now saying we've got to spend money on care in the community, but actually, if we thought about providing those, we've got one place here that I fought for, the Kleinworth Centre, but it's very few of those. So older people are blocking beds, people can't get into hospital. We haven't got general consultants. Working from home is a disaster, because if you're working in a company and you're only talking to your colleagues, you can work from home, but you can't work from home when you're dealing with the public.
I mean, I hear what you say. I think it's a little unfair to suggest that all the doctors and nurses and the anaesthetists and everyone else are working from home. I'm sure you're talking about admin staff as well, but the real pressure point is we're just not getting enough men and women to perform the surgery and do the treatments that are required. And we're already late to the news. Thank you for your input. Good to hear from you again. Coming up after news, I take you back a week or so.
I was sitting there and I don't know if we had the one before the reef day or after the reef day, because they've got a photograph of me with no medals on.
That was speaking, of course, at the events to commemorate the Normandy landings. That's RAF veteran Tom Weatherall speaking of LBC's Henry Riley, but there is some positive news there. Plus, these are pro-Palestinian demonstrators or protesters. They're interrupting or disrupting examinations for students at the University of Oxford. We'll have more on that. It's 8:31. This is Breakfast with me, Nick Ferrara on LBC, and the news is with Thomas.
So guys, I hope everybody has a great weekend. See you later.